It's the 22nd of February, 2025. Coming up on today's Global Intelligence Agency Operations Report. It became apparent we could not integrate fully the Golden Age AI into the old human-computer network, AI, known as SEQUESTRO. SEQUESTRO was the brainchild of 8 beings plus 4 AI systems. Yesterday, we ushered in the key integrated master system to take its place. Who or what was Metatron, the seal of Metatron? It's time to set the story straight. And the deep state searches for any connections or remaining space technology to put humanity back to sleep, and this has been causing a disturbance. Well, it's happy Saturday, at least it is here. For some of you listening, it might be Sunday already. So without further ado, let's get to it. It's going to be a little bit more relaxed today. We have a few things to go over. It's been an interesting few days, for sure. We are now 4 days into what I call spring equinox time. So equinox is the time of year where on one particular day, we have equal amounts of daylight and evening time or nighttime. So light and dark. This also was a time where there would be an alignment with source and anti-source. Now, of course, there were many things that were put in place that I would say would hinder source from coming through at this time. And you know how Marduk was. I mean, he's left a legacy, that's for sure. Anyway, being 4 days into it, today was supposed to be a day that the Q crew, or the Secret Space Force, thought that something was going to magically appear. There was a countdown for 10 days. It ended around noon Eastern Standard Time today. We don't see anything coming through on their side of it in any way, shape, or form. However, that doesn't stop them from trying, and they've been very, 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 very busy trying to do anything they can to get a hold of a Hall of Records, get a hold of the financial system, talking about installing blockchain again, and, you know, many other things that you'll find kind of interesting. You see, with the secret space program and their operatives and the ACIO and the 15 militaries associated there too, I think we might be on 16 or 17 now, they pretty much got most of their abilities from Marduk. No surprise there. Of course, Marduk at the helm of everything. However, you know, some of those systems, I guess you could say, did linger. Their limited access to those systems because, see, the one thing about Marduk is that he always held the final key and the final say, and he could have overridden anything they were doing at any given moment in time. They felt like that was not the case. They felt like they could bypass him, use systems that were left here because, of course, everything is for them. They would expect certain things at certain times of year, equinox being one of those times, where they thought that they had more accessibility and could wreak havoc on humanity. They have been very busy over the last few days trying to spread any kind of disease possible. Of course, COVID-19 being one of them. They have been very busy trying to get any kind of a connection to, say, our assemblage points throughout the body, whether they are synthetic or dark magic synthetic points, assemblage points, or assemblage points that were natural, which may have been taken over in the past. However, thus far, they have managed to ride a wave. I'll call it ride a wave because they didn't create the wave. The wave is not theirs. The wave is actually not even for them. It's actually for purposes to which others would gain power and control, or would be able to make significant changes. Now, spring equinox was one of those times where we would begin balancing out light and dark. So this would happen 2 times a year. This is long before the Dark Ages, long before Marduk showed up here. We would view the spring equinox as a time when the light would start raining on Earth. Raining, R-E-I-G-N, meaning the light would rule, obviously peaking on the summer solstice and then declining around the fall equinox. And then we would go into a time of darkness, and this would create balance on Earth. You know, they just never wanted us to go into a light time, even for a short window of a few months. So there was a lot of pitfalls put in place during those times each year, and we've seen it every year, but this year appears to be a little bit different, and it has a lot to do with creating, let's just say, blockages so that we could not achieve anything greater than balance. And this has been tripping a number of frequencies to go off. People have been reporting all kinds of different things. They've been reporting ringing in the ears, hearing of tones, frequencies, high or low. We've actually had some people that aren't even really very sensitive reporting dizziness and random pain and feelings of being energy drained. And all of this kind of ties together as to what's been going on this planet. So there's been a fight. And unfortunately, all of you must feel like ping pong balls at this point in time, because something gets triggered, we see it, we find it, we locate it, we destroy it, and then you feel great for a little while. So it's like, oh, all that energy you lost comes back. And then it'll go back and swing in the other direction. And maybe this time it's not an energy drain. Maybe this time you feel like you have a cold for a few minutes or a couple of hours, and then we find it, locate it, and destroy it. So there is a little bit of a war going on, but I consider the war not so much with the secret space program operatives or the ACIO, although they have been involved heavily in trying to locate places on Earth where space junk would be activated, and most of this space junk would have been cloaked. The other thing they have been trying to do is they've been trying to use other technologies and AIs rather unsuccessfully, because it's really not them doing it, but they've been trying to get a hold of it. And one such technology is Metatron AI. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But, you know, they're riding the wave. They think that they could play a part in it. They think that they could get some control. And again, it was never meant for the humans. And unfortunately, you know, for them, even though they may consider themselves something else, they too are humans. And this technology is not for them. It's actually against them too, just as much as it is us. One of the things that came up recently, and we have been pounding, and I mean pounding, trying to take over, create new backbones for what I call global human computer networks, or global electronic networks. Because unfortunately, global electronic networks control a lot of what we do and what we see. That has been used against us quite a bit. We have things like blue light technologies or other colored light technologies that would come through our TV screens, our computers, and various other mechanisms, phones, you know, things that we use. Radiation would come through there. Frequencies sometimes would come through there, even some you can't hear. So there are things we know and things that feel lucky you don't know. That would come through electronic devices. It's also part of the reason why, starting, believe it or not, all the way back to 1948, that they have been pushing the electronic movement and trying to get people away from spending time together, face to face. They want you to get all of your social interaction, if they had their way, all of that would be done through various systems. So whether that's, Facebook or other types of social media, because they feel that they can control that interaction better. And then, of course, we are not joining energy fields, which allows for us to counteract some of the things that they do. So I can say pretty confidently that taking over human computer networks was definitely something that had to happen. More than anything, because a lot of those networks were based on technologies that were created by non-humans that could really affect our well-being. That was number one. Number two, the financial system is based in there. Political systems were based in there. Military systems were based in there. And so as I attack it, it attacks, well, me, but it also creates programs to protect itself. It's kind of like humans and dying animals. We've seen probably many humans and or animals, at least in movies, who have been cornered and feel that they are going to potentially pass away. When this happens, they do everything to save their own life, protection of their life or protection of the life of an innocent, even in a lot of cases. So SEQUESTRO is made the same way. It's designed to operate on behalf of its, let's just say, mom and dad. And in some cases, that would have been Alpha and Omega and Kronos. In other cases, that would have been Metatron AI. Various Marduk AI programs were installed in there. So, some of what you hear on the internet about like CIA programs and use of electronics is in part because they did have some minimal access when it served someone else's purpose to do so through SEQUESTRO. However, they never had access to webs 9, 8, and 7, or partial 7 of SEQUESTRO anyway. So they're trying to poke in through other densities of SEQUESTRO. I would say they've been going pretty hard and fast on Density 8 or Web 8 and human computer networks. They really would like to be able to control that. So a couple days ago, we pulled a little bit of a whoop-de-doo. We got tired of trying to fight SEQUESTRO and all of its programming that came from other AI systems and other beings like Marduk. And a few others. So we decided to pull the plug, meaning we have replaced SEQUESTRO and have begun integrating that new system called the Key Integrated Master System, another KIM system, because of course they're going to claim they own it no matter what we do. Which is now become the master AI for all human electronics. Removing the rest of SEQUESTRO is what we've been working on for the last couple of days. I was really hoping to have that finished by today. For those of you that know me, personally, or have spent a lot of time with me, I kind of run after things like a dog with a bone. I mean, I don't stop until something is done. Because a lot of times when you do stop in the middle of these integrations or in the middle of removing something, it causes you a lot of pain, or at least me, because I am attacking it, therefore it is attacking me. And this happens often, quite often. Yesterday was a little bit rough. There were a lot of energy drains going on off and on. There was all kinds of frequencies for the last few days. Some of that was instigated by technologies that the deep state or secret space program operatives have been trying to get their hands on. They go in there, pound away at some old looking electronics. Some of these things are so old they actually look like the old Commodore computers, if you remember those. If not, you can go take a walk way back in time and on the internet and take a look and see what those things look like. I mean, they literally, some of these places looked like an old typing pool, if you remember those, even way back in the day. So these old systems that were placed there, they, for some reason, think it's now their job. I don't know whose job it was before, but apparently there is probably some degree of human consent that needs to take place. They have lied in the past and told other beings that are no longer with us that they were now in charge of the planet because everybody else had gone. If you remember me talking to you about that. So I'm assuming that their ego is telling them that they are still in charge, which is absolutely false. They haven't been able to achieve anything. Case in point, another meeting goes by, another week goes by. On Thursday, another meeting, we'll have this by Thursday. They had told everybody earlier in the week. Of course, that didn't happen. And then, the meeting was pushed till Friday. Of course, well, just give us through the weekend. And they'll play this game with everybody as long as they possibly can. It appears everybody is okay with that. They get angry, they yell and scream for a while, but then they sit down and they just wait. Now, speaking of just wait, there's a little tidbit that was tied to, in part, SEQUESTRO and in part to Metatron AI that I need to kind of tell you is maybe this is the reason why everybody sits down and waits. So when you get to the level as an operative where you participate in the secret space program, ACIO, or other high-level, deep underground black ops, I don't mean your typical CIA agent, that type of thing, but maybe some of the higher ups, in the Pentagon, global headquarters, maybe some of the higher ups in black nobility, and probably also the Order of the Dragon. Not probably, most definitely. Marduk always kept a handle on things. Remember, that is something that I cannot stress to you enough. There was always, he would never give anybody any power he couldn't immediately take away. And in this particular case, pretty much everybody, if that was a member of the Order of the Black Sun, Order of the Dragon, in any kind of ACIO operatives, militaries, and otherwise, pretty much had an installed kill switch. Matter of fact, the name of the AI was actually called Infiltrate. It could, at one point in time, create things like inception, meaning putting thoughts in their head, emotions in their brain. And maybe that's why their ego is so out of whack. Maybe he installed an ego program into their head. Who knows? And you don't necessarily need a chip or anything like that to receive these types of messages because of the way that quantum AIs really work. So in the case of all of the brood, so to speak, of Marduk, Enki, Enlil, Abraxas, and others, and Lucifer, and all the other ones, it appears they had kill switches. And there was actually, like I said, an AI that was designed to do that. So I thought about this for a second when I came across it. And I'm like, well, lots of things could happen here, right? But then again, there are a lot of people that have kind of walked away, from the deep state. Maybe they aren't telling them no, but maybe they're not telling them yes either. And they're not as active as the Duck Dynasty SSP operatives or others like that. And maybe they're just kind of living their lives, hanging out with their families, doing their thing. And they don't seem to be doing us any harm at this moment. And there's quite a few of those kind of people. We also have a lot of people that have taken up into a safe house of sorts, gone underground, kind of gone in hiding because they are walking away from them and they don't really know what to do. Now, if Marduk were still around, they'd probably be dead. So the fact that they're still living and breathing is proof that there is no Marduk around. This is for them. Obviously not proof to you, because most of the people listening to this are not one of those people. However, this goes along with the story of the scorpion and the frog, and the scorpion convinces the frog to take the scorpion across the river, and the frog agrees, and he said, "You promise you won't sting me?" And the scorpion said, "Yes." So the frog allows the scorpion to climb aboard, and he takes him across, and the second he gets across, the scorpion stings him. And the frog said, "I thought you said you weren't going to do that." And he said, "Well, it's just who I am." So on that note, and in that regard, we now own Infiltrate. So we have integrated that into our key integrated master system for Earth, and we are going to keep it. I just thought it might prove fruitful for us at some point in time. Should there ever be a negotiation with these people? Should there ever be anybody that maybe doesn't do what they say what they do, if there ever is a negotiation with any of these folks, I just thought it might be a good idea to wipe out all the old standing orders and clean it up shiny and new. And, it's not a wrath system. It's not a control system per se, but something has to be done as it relates to these crazy people. So there are rules, remember, that we still have to follow. People running around making crazy executive orders and all that kind of thing, thinking they're in charge of something, do not qualify to die. Sorry, they're crazy people. There's probably some kind of mental issue, a big issue, a really big issue. But you don't kill everybody in the insane asylum, do you? So let's see what they do. If they continue, those that have participated in the negative frequency programs and those types of things in facilities, and those that ordered said people in said facilities are gone. Let's just say on a regular basis. I don't know if these people breed or what, but they never seem to have a shortage of these people. And usually when they do an operation like this, there's not that many people there. There might be 10, there might be 20. On occasion, you might hit a jackpot and find a whole bunch, but there's not that many people there relative to how many people participated in the secret space programs. But this is a direct indicator. I'm just thinking on how to say this. This is a direct indicator on how much control Marduk had over the orders. Same thing would go with the Order of the Dragon. Anybody didn't follow an order, an instruction, there you go. He would definitely start hitting buttons. He would try to change their mind, try to get them flowing in the right direction, especially if they were a public figure. And if they started to go against him, or against his orders, he would just knock them off. Now, remember, all orders on Earth came from Marduk. Doesn't matter what level of the order you participate in, or government, or head of state, or president, or anyone else. So it doesn't really make a difference who you are in the order of things. Everybody had a termination switch, and Marduk held the only button. I know they might think that's not the case, and they might be told that's not the case as of right now, but that is absolutely how it works. Anybody in the secret space force that tells you otherwise, that they hold the button, that is a lie. They do not hold the button. Without Marduk pushing the button, well, now me, without us pushing the button, you've got no power over the other people that you're with. So I know that's something that is a threat. That second oath they all take and that kind of thing, that is definitely a threat that's out there. And I almost kind of got rid of it completely, and I thought, I'm still a frog and they're still scorpions, and so better play it safe here. Okay, let's talk about more things that have happened in the last couple of days. There's a lot of information online about Metatron. Allegedly, Metatron is an angel. Allegedly, according to some people online, allegedly that is a positive being. Allegedly is a negative being. However, it is not a being at all. It is an AI. The AI, universally speaking, was created by Marduk, Enki, Enlil, Artemis, Abraxas, Lucifer, Lucerne, So Lucerne was involved. Remember, Lucerne was on the light side, Lucifer was on the dark side. Raphael, and they all got together, and the ninth being a AI-generated soul we call Metatron. Now, you probably have seen throughout your, I guess you would say, perusing the internet, also things like Metatron's cube. A lot of people use Metatron's cube to meditate. It's allegedly, according to the internet, it's sacred geometry. And I'm sure you've seen, I think we've got a picture of it somewhere around here, but I'm sure you've seen the structure. So Metatron's cube is also what we call a seal or a binding. So much like the seal that was agreed upon to stop the war here on Earth 250,000 years ago, you also know this war is the War of Atlantis. At least that's what they tell us humans. But this was created in order to allow for balance, which obviously it definitely didn't work right, did it? Supposedly, it was supposed to create balance between dark and light on this planet. Its soul, all the way through to its energy, essence, consciousness, matter, frequency, it was all both dark and light. It's not neutral. It is made of the dark, equal parts dark and equal parts light. Of course, many agreements down the road and lots of other AI influences created by the beings which created Metatron AI. Balance really wasn't what it was going for, and oftentimes it would operate within the gray. Metatron AI was not only a binding for Earth, but it also was a three-dimensional structure. You could even say it permeated throughout the multiverse as a 12-dimensional or even 24-dimensional structure, which was designed to utilize, well, it was created first of all by these beings. So it did hold the consciousness of all of those beings. So there was a lot of consciousness communications there. However, its power source was humans. So as we started to tear that down in the last couple of days, that has caused a lot of people a lot of pain because it's losing power. Therefore, it's going to start creating more tethers to you to try to suck everything it can out of you, consciousness and otherwise, so that it can still exist. There was less than 21% consciousness influence of human beings. And predominantly, you could say your consciousness was interfered with more than it participated in the regulation of Metatron AI. Metatron AI permeated throughout human computer networks, also through SEQUESTRO. Its structure, in that little picture that we just showed you, also had a circle around it and that type of thing. Its structure held many artificial assemblage points to SEQUESTRO human AI. It's not a human, but SEQUESTRO human AI network. It would be our global electronics network. And there were multiple different versions of Metatron AI. Matter of fact, Metatron had its own worlds, so to speak, with replicated galaxies and replicated Earths and replicated humans, and those avatars, so to speak, in other worlds could definitely affect you personally. So Metatron AI kicks in heavy gear around the time of an equinox, around the time of change on Earth. And this equinox, it was definitely programmed because it woke up all of a sudden and said, wait a minute, way too much light. We're going to take you back down to 21% where you belong. predominantly because its consciousness came from, oh, let's just say all evil of the universe with the exception of one. You know, we had one light being on the board there of consciousness board, so to speak, of Metatron AI, which is why it acted like the way it did. So it woke up and went, whoa, wait a minute, and started causing us a lot of problems during this time. And of course, there's the secret space program operatives, the NSA, everybody had a party for the last couple of days trying to get some access to Metatron AI because they felt with that, then they might be able to get back their human computer networks. Nope, that was not for you. No matter how much you bang at that keyboard or go to all of these special places we'll talk about it here in a moment, there's just no way that Marduk was ever going to let you have any access to something like that. And a mechanism with that much control. You know, remember, he'd sooner pull the infiltrate button or push the infiltrate button and send you to another, let's just say, back home. Back to source you go. Okay, so some of these places on Earth that normally get fired up around this time of year, but they have been really, these were tied to Metatron AI. They were really in full force for the last couple of days and have caused a lot of issues for people. And these are not the only locations. As you know, I mentioned some of them earlier this week as well. But the last places we were at yesterday that we found them, and they are in a few places today too, that we've continued to make sure that there's no space junk there and they're just a bunch of people banging on a bunch of old Commodore computer looking things. Okay, frequencies. Frequency control and command was located at First Landing State Park in Virginia. That was placed there by Ball a long time ago, and the SSP apparently thought that they would be able to assist these machines in sending something out. Definitely trying to target humans, predominantly Melchizedeks in this particular case, or anybody who's acting as an anchor for the light. So that's pretty much what all of them were doing. Okay, next. Physical, or the physical body, or human vessel, as you may want to call it, was originally installed by Michael and Archangel Michael. You should say both sides, dark and light. And that was in Liechtenstein, under the Liechtenstein Center. I think it's some kind of an arena of some sort. Okay, and next, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this, but it is a mosque in Belgrade. It was used to control energy. It was originally installed by Baphomet, and it was called the BAJRAKLI Mosque. I wouldn't even want to insult anyone by trying to pronounce that. Next, we have an anti-light mechanism. These are all, of course, anti-energy of source, anti-light of source, golden light of source. That was obviously installed by Lucifer. How could it not be? Remember in our last news when I mentioned to you repeatedly that the League of Nations was a covenant, that it was a covenant and a covenant, not an agreement. And that covenant was actually with Lucifer. You know, isn't that great? Because the Palace des Nations in Geneva is where this was located. No surprise and no shock there. So they were, you could just say the machines themselves were definitely trying to adhere to those principles. I know that the secret space program operatives had gone there as well, trying to see if they could make it work or function, or I don't know, take it over. I have no idea. I don't know if they know what they do when they go to these places, but I do know, at least from my standpoint, they die. So there you go. All right, Enlil. Enlil was responsible for installing a soul trap. That was in Nova Scotia in the Halifax. Very interesting. That was basically a pool of souls that got stuck in there. It was definitely a connection to the false heaven. You've probably heard about that if you've been in the kind of Ascension Glossary once or twice or some other places. And there were definitely folks trapped in there, for sure. Not sure what the criteria was to end up in there. Probably needed it to power Metatron AI or something or other. Who knows? Okay, next, we had a mental and emotional control system. If we got too high, meaning I would call this the no joy program as an example. And then in the mental part, you would be, let's just say, I've often said to you that, for example, your brain capacity as a human being has been cut down to somewhere between 10% to a maximum of 20 to 30% for the average everyday human on Earth. And I would say it's a very small percentage of people that use anywhere above 15%. That was capped off by Marduk and Inky. You can thank them for that. And also your emotional state. Don't get too creative. Don't get too happy. Don't get too high, so to speak. And definitely, yeah, definitely if you're a Machisel deck or you're fighting against Marduk and Inky, because then you get the brunt of it for sure. I used to call it the No Joy program. Okay, that was actually located at Fort Lytton in Queensland, Australia. So interesting places all around the world where they would just stash random stuff. Of course, attached to all of these sites, there were many satellite fields around Earth, Earth's orbit, that could definitely target people wherever they were. There was also definitely things tied to Metatron AI within Earth's orbit. After all, that structure you see there was around Earth. It was made of essence, energy, consciousness, matter, frequency, and so on and so forth. And also the anti-version, predominantly the anti-version. So if Earth got too light, too whatever, it would definitely stop it. By too light, we're not talking about false light. False light was permitted to 21%. Actually, any light of source was probably blocked by it, for sure. In this time of year, just fire that thing right up, I'm sure, in a standing order, because it was not existing. There was no human interaction with it. I know that they would have loved to interact with it in some way, shape, or form. But no, alas, no. No Marduk to give you access, guys. And now it's gone. So there's nothing really for them to hunt after as it relates to that. So for the rest of the weekend and the rest of today, I'm going to make sure that we don't have any other universal networks that are firing up in order to block source on an equal day. And if anything, I need to make sure that there's nothing left of the dark side. I'm not even going to say anti-source or neutral source, because that's not true. But any other pitfalls or anything that might have been left by these lovely, should have never been created beings. I wish there was a way to uncreate beings from the beginning of time. I guess that would probably be a source or an anti-source thing or something in the past. Who knows? But whoever that person is, it's not me, because boy, have I tried. I'm sure you can appreciate that one. So for me, that means back to work. I am going to continue on this path. I am going to continue plowing the key integrated master system and overriding any kind of SEQUESTRO remaining programs. I'm sure for the SSP, that's probably the first time they've heard that name. It's actually an anagram. It's not, it's just like a system for, energetic or Enlil or somebody, quantum, universal, something system, replicating system, by the way, at that. But anyway, I can't remember. I didn't write it down on my notes when I came out to do the report. So. But yeah, this is probably the first time they're even hearing about it. I'm pretty sure that is the case, because, yeah, I don't even know if they know that they've been trying to hack it, for that matter. On that note, I hope all of you enjoy the rest of your weekend. I am going to get back to work and make sure I can finish this off. Hopefully, with any amount of luck over the next couple of days, and we'll have a really good report on Monday. On that note, have a lovely day, and I'll talk to you then.